Top 15 Most Expensive Buys on Pawn Stars. Pawn Stars takes you inside the colorful world of the pawn business. At the gold and silver pawn shop in the outskirts of Las Vegas, 3 generations of the Harrison family, grandfather Richard, son Rick, and grandson Corey, jointly run the family business, and there's clashing and camaraderie every step of the way. It's up to them to determine what's real and what's fake, as they reveal the often surprising answers to the questions on everyone's mind. What's the story behind it, and what's it worth? You've got to spend money to make money, and no one knows that better than the Pawn Stars guys. We count down the 15 biggest payouts ever on the history of the show. So please consider subscribing to our channel, Luxuries Daily Input, and hit that bell icon so that you never miss any update. Let's begin. Number 15. A 1715 Spanish Empire Peru gold coin. Price $11,000. This Spanish Empire gold peso was actually minted in Peru. This rare find was brought into the shop by Jody, its owner, and she knew she had something that was worth a lot of money. From what she discovered doing her own research, she valued the coin herself at $18,000. Its value came from the story behind it. In 1715, it was part of a giant treasure of loot worth nearly $14 million that was being brought to Spain on a fleet of ships leaving Havana. It did not take long for the guys to strike a deal, and they made the purchase for $11,000. Number 14. A centuries-old ship bell. Price $15,000. A centuries-old ship bell was brought into their Las Vegas pawn shop by a woman who was looking to make some fast cash. When presented with the bell, Richard Old Man Harrison turned his nose up at him, claiming it must be a reproduction. The woman who brought it in wasn't thinking it was worth much either, but wanted to give it a shot anyway. It wasn't until they consulted with an expert. The expert discovered that the old ship bell was from 1602 and was worth around $15,000. The Harrisons jumped at the deal when they found out this bell was an original and immediately listed it at a treasure auction catalog. Number 13. An 1842 5th edition Book of Mormon. Price $24,000. Rebecca Romney, the manager of Bowman Rare Books in Las Vegas, showed up on a few episodes as a rare books expert. She was brought in to analyze someone's 5th edition copy of the Book of Mormon, which turned out to be worth over $40,000. So Rick made a deal with the owner at $24,000. Number 12. The Egyptian Cartonage Mummy Mask. Price $30,000. When Dr. Phineas Castle was asked to come to the shop and verify if a customer's ancient Egyptian mummy mask was the real deal, it took him a few seconds before knowing that we were looking at the real thing. He put the value at around $22,500, but said it was so unique it could go higher to a collector. Corey decided he wanted this piece and eventually had no choice but to pay the asking price of $30,000 to own it. Number 11. A 1554 Spanish Shipwreck gold bar. Price $35,000. The Pawn Stars hit the jackpot when one man walked into their shop with a gold bar that was originally found in a shipwreck centuries ago. The owner was apparently cleaning out his grandfather's attic and found the bar tucked away in a box. They priced it initially at $24,000, but that quickly turned to $50,000 when the shipwreck expert was consulted. The bar dates back to 1554 and was apparently one of the many treasures found in the famous Padre Island shipwreck just off of Texas. Rick purchased the bar for $35,000, saving himself $15,000. Talk about pirate's treasure. Number 10. Vic Flick's 1961 Fender Stratocaster guitar. Price $55,000. The Fender Stratocaster is described as one of the most iconic rock guitars in history. So when legendary studio musician Vic Flick, the man who played the guitar riff on the original James Bond theme, bought his 1961 Fender in the shop, Rick had to make a deal. Flick played this guitar on popular recordings for artists, including Tom Jones and the Beatles. Flick and Rick shook hands on $55K. Number 9. JFK Cigar Box. Price $60,000. When a man walked into the gold and silver pawn shop with a piece of presidential history described as a once-in-a-lifetime item, Rick just had to have it. The item was a cigar box that once sat on President John Kennedy's desk in the Oval Office. It even included some unsmoked cigars. Considering another of JFK's cigar boxes sold for over $500,000 back in the 90s, Rick was onto a winner when he haggled this one off the gentleman for $60,000. Number 8. 2014 Hertz Penske GT Mustang. Price $60,000. In 2013, the car rental company Hertz announced a partnership with American entrepreneur Roger Penske to create 150 limited edition Ford GT Mustangs. When a gentleman brought Rick one of the first 10 ever built, Rick asked professional NASCAR driver Joey Logano to give it a test drive. Happy that everything was in working order, Rick struck a deal at $60,000. Number 7. 1915 Panama Pacific Octagonal Gold Coin. Price $67,500. After heading to Atlanta to attend one of the biggest coin auctions in America, Rick needed to find a 1915 Panama Pacific Octagonal $50 gold piece for a customer who wanted to pay $70,000 for it. These commemorative coins were created by the U.S. Mint to celebrate the opening of the Panama Canal. After tracking 2 coins down, Rick finally negotiated a deal on one for $67,500. Number 6. 1932 Custom Ford Roadster. Price $68,250. Rick and Corey engaged in fierce negotiations with the owner of a pristine, jet black, 500 horsepower 1932 Custom Ford. The convertible Roadster was in impeccable shape, with just 450 miles on the clock, and after Vegas car custom legend Danny the Count Coker fell in love with it, Rick knew he had to strike a deal, which he did at $68,250. Number 5. 1922 Proof Piece High Relief Dollar. Price $80,000. Described as one of the rarest coins in American history, the 1922 High Relief Dollar was brought into Rick's shop by a man who had originally won it in a poker game. The gentleman believed the coin, one of only 10 to 12 left in existence, to be worth around $20,000. After Rick had one of his experts take a look at it, that price jumped considerably, with a new estimate given to between $50,000 and $100,000. Rick and the man struck a deal at $80,000. Number 4. 1941 Gibson SJ200 guitar. Price $85,000. Not only was this guitar beautiful and rare, but it was also owned by a rock legend. Stephen Stills of the folk rock group Cosby, Stills and Nash owned this piece of rock and roll history, which was instantly appreciated by Rick as he uttered the words, "That is cool." With an accompanying bill of sale signed by Stills himself, Rick had to dig deep to get his hands on this holy grail of Gibson guitars. In the end, he was able to prize it off the owner for a cool $85,000. Number 3. 1961 Gibson SG Les Paul guitar. Price $90,000. This custom guitar belonged to American guitarist Mary Ford, who was the wife of legendary guitarist Les Paul. From 1950 to 1954, Mary and Les co-wrote 16 top 10 hits and sold millions of records. Les's solid body guitar design also effectively changed the sound of rock music. Already a rare guitar, made even more valuable with its actual connection to Les Paul, this would become Rick's largest guitar buy of his career, as the owner's initial ask of $250,000, Rick did well to snap it up for a meager $90,000. Number 2. 1932 Lincoln Roadster. Price $95,000. This convertible was created with one thing in mind: luxury. With its 150 horsepower V12 engine, It was more powerful than most cars of its era, so when Rick and the old man went to check out an exceptionally maintained 32 Roadster, they knew they had to go big if they wanted to ride off with this vintage beauty. In the end, it was $95K big, paid in cash, which the owner then pushed back over the counter to buy $95,000 in gold. Number 1. 200 plus pounds of silver. Price, $111,000. After told by his father to invest, one gentleman decided to purchase over 200 pounds of silver. By the time he walked into Rick's shop, 12 years had passed since his investment, and the price of silver had skyrocketed. With a set profit margin, Rick knew he could sell it on immediately, so after carrying out some checks to ensure the silver was pure, which even included some drilling, he was happy to snap up the hoard for a princely sum of $111,000. So, this was all about today's topic. I hope you really enjoyed the video. Do subscribe to our channel, Luxuries Daily Input, and hit the bell icon so that the first notification of our new videos will get to you. See you soon!